So greetings. We are at the fifth edition of ResPack in Mumbai, and delighted to have a friend and also someone who's been very quietly working for certain things which will hopefully benefit our industry. That's Dr. Nandini Kumar of the CII. Um, so first and foremost, I think this is your second or third ResPack. What is it that you're here for in this edition, and what is it that you're going to do in terms of contributing to the conversation on sustainable packaging and responsible packaging?
It's great to be here, fifth edition, but as you said, I've been here only for 2 years.
Right.
And this year, I am to be moderating a session on responsible packaging, especially in the food industry.
Okay.
There are some challenges there that companies are facing under the regulation of the government, primarily because standards are not yet set for certain kinds of plastic packaging. So that's the session I am to be moderating later in the evening today. It's a good exposure to different people from across the plastics value chain. You get to
Sure.
hear a lot of new things
Correct.
and meet a lot of different
Sure,
people.
sure. Usually in a conference like this, what is it that you pick up? I mean, policymakers, polymer scientists, the technologists, the people who are in the commercial side of the business, or the brand guys. Typically, what are the kind of conversations you've been picking up, and any, two trends that you think are, need to be highlighted, spotlighted, and so on? Yeah.
I think it's mostly the brands
Right.
that we end up talking to here, and a lot of the reason for that is that the initiative on plastics that CII runs
Sure.
deals a lot with brands.
Correct.
And they are the ones who sort of have to face the brunt of the packaging decisions,
Sure.
the design parts of it, etc.
Sure.
And so these are the people we meet here are largely from that constituency.
Sure, sure. We'll flash back to September 2021. What happened then? What did you create? What's happening in the space of, this transition from circular economy, especially in plastic packaging? And what happened, prior to September 21? So if you can, describe the scenario, how it was created, and what did you all do at CII?
Yeah, there's been a lot of movement in this field of
Sure.
plastics over the last maybe 7 or 8 years.
Right.
And back in 2018, I think there was a meeting here in Bombay.
Correct.
Where the government representatives got together and industry representatives got together and pledged to do something.
Sure.
So the Confederation of Indian Industry followed up on that conversation and wanted to start some work on plastics. But we were not very sure of how to go about it.
Sure.
Until we were approached in the throes of COVID by an organization from the UK called RAP,
Yes.
who said that they were setting up plastics pacts all over the world, and would we be interested in setting up one for India?
Nice.
And that's how we started that work. So September was a very, very important date for us because that was when we got actors from across the plastic packaging value chain
Sure.
to come together and commit to 4 targets. The targets are based on the circularity of packaging.
Sure.
And so since then, where we are now is very, very different from where we were then, because the Government of India's Extended Producer Responsibility Guidelines also came
Alongside, yeah.
within a few months of that.
Sure.
And so that meant that while the EPR targets gave a mandate to the companies, obviously it's not the government's job to tell the brands how to go about
Correct.
it. And it wasn't just the brand's responsibility, but because these things belong to an ecosystem, it's very important for someone to bring these different points of activity together. And that's the platform that CII was able to provide.
Sure.
Today we are at a place where I'm really proud to say we get approached by companies who tell us their problems
Okay.
and say they're willing to go beyond their own company to provide solutions.
Nice.
So they're willing to share information even with competitors.
Sure.
But I think there is a growing realization that collaboration is absolutely
Is the key.
essential to
Yeah,
solve
yeah, yeah.
problems.
Right,
Yeah.
right. So, if you can also let us know what is happening with the India Plastic Pact, in the sense how many members, number one, number two is what's the scope of work, and then of course plans moving ahead. Next 12 months sort of vision that you have, because obviously EPR is also in a sort of state of they're evolving as they go along.
Yeah.
So we are also learning as we sort of
Yes.
march on. So if these three things you can sort of respond
Sure.
to, yeah,
We have 57 members
right,
right now, and we divide them into two categories. The
okay,
supporters are people such as waste management
of
organizations,
course, yeah.
who's without whom the plastic packaging
Will
in
collapse.
waste will never flow. It
Correct.
will never flow.
Yeah, yeah.
So they are called supporters,
Yes.
whereas the others are called members.
Nice.
But this is just pact terminology.
Sure.
The important part of it is the core of the pact, which is the 4 targets relating to eliminating what is problematic or unnecessary.
Correct.
Target 2 being the design related one, so designing everything to be recyclable, reusable, compostable,
Nice.
with a bunch of caveats attached to the
Of course.
compostable
Yeah,
part.
yeah.
Target 3 on achieving a 50% recycling rate for the country as a whole, not for individual
Yep,
signatories.
yep.
And target 4, which is actually the engine that pulls circularity, which is using that recycled plastic back into packaging.
Sure.
So everything circulates
Yep.
or is focused, pivots on these 4 targets.
Sure.
But the targets cannot be achieved just like that.
Of
We know
course.
there's an entire ecosystem hanging on all 4. And unless all those bits come together and align,
Yeah.
there is no meeting of the targets, no circularity.
Sure.
So the work we've been at for about a year, and that we plan to build on in the next year, because our target year is 2030.
Correct.
We have a few focused work streams. One is on the all-important reuse and refill. The Government of India has mandated targets on this.
Sure.
And it is difficult for companies to venture into this. It's a new area, new even globally.
Sure.
So we are going into this, reuse and refill. We are going into citizen behavior in a very, very big way, because we all know that that's
Yep.
the sort of North Star. If we all began doing our bit,
Correct.
even in the dustbin every day in the
Sure.
kitchen,
Yeah.
it would make a big difference to the amount of material flowing.
Sure.
We have a work stream on designing for recyclability also. And as a part of that, many companies have approached us asking us if we would like to start working on the harmonization of packaging composition.
Sure. Sure.
And once that is achieved, again, you will have larger amounts of material flowing into recycling, and therefore not landing up in litter or getting wasted by burning as fuel
Got
in
it.
cement
Got it.
kilns,
Right,
etc.
right.
So these are some of the bodies of work we have going
Sure.
ahead.
Understood. And I mean, I've been observing it, of course, from the outside, but getting a sense of the work that you're doing. There are two things that struck me. One is, of course, gradualism. I mean, it's a slow,
Yeah,
steady,
yeah.
very, very lots and lots of micro moments which you have to build on to make
Yeah.
sure that whatever the end goal that you've alluded to, that's number one. Secondly, is of course, I've also because we are also a UK-based publication, we are familiar with what UK does back in the United Kingdom. I also see that there are certain points of departure in terms of strategy. So again, if you can share a couple of those things that, how are you building onto these, micro moments, number one, and typically what are the challenges, and you hope you had a magic wand, which could just, hey, everything goes away, and then, tomorrow it's a little faster for you to move.
Yeah, I think it's very tricky actually. It's probably going to take a long time to think about the
Right.
answers to the questions
Sure,
you've
sure.
posed.
Right.
In the UK, they've imposed a tax on
Yeah.
virgin plastic
Yeah,
consumption.
true.
It's just blanket.
Correct.
So that's a huge incentive for companies to cut plastic
Yep.
use and maybe look at other materials or whatever it is. But if I were looking at not one magic wand, Ramu, maybe 5 or 6, one of them would certainly be that we should diversify materials
Right,
used in
right.
packaging. we must diversify strategies also. Reuse must be considered wherever possible.
Yep.
And there is a lot of research needed to understand where those potentialities lie.
Sure.
That bit of work, I think, we are able to do here at the Pact, and that's something that needs to be done. So just establishing the base case, seeing where you are, and given the diversity of India, what strategies for packaging would work best in what socioeconomic stratum,
Correct.
in which part of the country, because cultural practices differ,
Yep.
for what product. I think these would be very good starting points. If we had information about these,
Sure.
we would be able to take much more sensible packaging decisions. That would definitely be
And one of
there.
the things that I think is also your pet peeve, that if we can stop having conversations only in English and in maybe at least 8 or 9 other Indian languages, so that it benefits a larger, cross section.
I think that would be very useful
yeah.
also, and that's again in the citizen behavior,
Correct.
the digital campaign we are planning to roll out now.
Sure.
One of the goals is to do it in at least 5 languages.
Sure. Nice.
We need funding from our signatories and from anywhere else to be able to put such a massive exercise in place.
Sure.
But I think languages are a big part of
Yeah,
it.
it's a good entry point, right? Yeah. Also curious to know, I mean, of course, one interacts with you and, some of your core team members. So what is the think tank behind this? Because 2 things strike me. One is that it's a systematic approach. And secondly, there are some templates you're following. And you're also responding to things like EPR, things like, the waste management rules. You're also responding to the fact that it's a fragmented industry of the big daddies at the top. And then, of course, it goes completely, chaotic down the line because MSMEs, micro SMEs, so on. Then you have, these small operations in places like Vapi, etc., who have their own set of rules. So again, just curious to know what kind of think tank and, the brain power behind this whole, operation.
I mean, the way I don't think I'm the brain of the operation,
Right.
but 1 or 2 approaches, certainly since you mentioned the small and medium enterprises.
Sure.
So there are 2 approaches I can think of here.
Right.
And one that we've been trying to work with is through the brands.
Sure.
They all have their supply chains and their vendors. And news passes around very quickly.
That's
so
true,
once the large brand buys in and agrees to tell its vendors that supply this or else, I think word will get around, and therefore it percolates down to the small operators as well.
Sure.
There are cost considerations
Of
over
course,
there. In India, we know that livelihoods depend on your trade like this. So, but word getting around means that things change. The other thing is when the large companies buy into this, they deal with those volumes. When they are ordering stuff of a certain kind, packaging of a certain kind, those costs come down.
Correct.
The economies of scale, I believe. And so that's the second way that we hope this sort of thing can be tackled.
Sure.
But something that is intangible and that I hope for always is trust. And building trust among larger and larger segments of people within the plastic packaging industry is that real pivot, if you ask me. If people are convinced that what you're saying has a benefit, maybe not in the short term, not even maybe even in the long term, I think something will click inside and they may start thinking about it.
Correct.
So alongside these very practical and action-oriented strategies, is one definitely to constantly engage with people and persuade them to adopt the right path. I don't mean to sound like a preacher here, but I think deep inside people know what is right, and nobody likes pollution.
True.
Likes that.
Not
So
preacher, I think voice of sanity. That sounds better.
Very flattering, thank you.
Voice of, we need that. A couple of things before we let you go. One is, the awards itself, which is, I think initiated last year, big success, and also I think helps in getting us a conversation going about standards, because otherwise it's again all over the place. So, and then of course the rigor with which it was organized, because one was privy to that. So, what was the thought process behind? What was the response last year? And of course you've announced it for 2026 as well. So, what is going to happen now?
Many of our signatories told us that a recognition program helps a great deal. Also, not just in recognizing people who are making the effort
Sure.
to meet the challenge and innovating,
Yep.
but also because then those innovations become better known,
Yep.
and
Yep.
therefore you're propagating the fact that there are new developments,
Sure.
etc., which
Sure.
can be picked
Yep.
up.
Yep.
So last year, I think we had something like 60 applications,
Yep. Yep.
and we ended up awarding maybe 12 or 13. So this
Right.
is quite a
Right.
large, pretty strict process.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
You were there.
Sure.
This year it's about the same. We have a few more application entries. I can't remember the exact number.
Sure.
We will start the assessments in a month or so.
Sure.
And then let's see where we are. But
Yep.
this year we've also introduced a new category called innovations.
Okay, nice.
So we hope to see what's happening over there.
Right.
Because this is like you said right in the beginning, it's a very, very dynamic area.
Correct,
Plastic
correct.
packaging, the
Sure.
material itself, lots
Yep.
of changes,
Sure.
technology,
Yep.
R&D.
Yep.
So
Material
there's-
science.
Exactly,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah,
There's
yeah.
stuff happening in the labs
Yeah.
that's coming into the markets
Yeah,
now.
yeah. So again, just for the benefit of viewers who are not aware about the awards, you have flexible packaging, you have flexible materials, you have rigid. What else?
Yeah. I think
These are the
the
two-
two categories are
Sure,
rigids and flexibles.
Fair enough,
And then
yeah.
we have the
Yeah.
innovations this
Right,
time also.
right.
And it's all based on the principles of circularity.
Correct, correct, absolutely. For me, I think the big takeaway from your awards was cap closures. I just came
okay.
across just an astounding variety and just the amount of work India has been doing. Yeah, it used to be the sort of weakest link in the chain. I certainly
Okay.
saw that, somewhere some of the people have managed to crack it. Okay, final question. Anything else that we should be expecting from you, your team for 2026, 2027? And if there's anything that, data mapping, survey, maybe knowledge plenary sessions, anything else that we should be expecting?
We do have a conference, an annual conference, but that's just for signatories. It's
Signatories,
closed
yeah,
door.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
going to be in August.
Yeah.
But we have a circular economy conference in October, at the
Sure,
end of October,
sure.
where we try to put some of these design considerations specially forward, because
very
it's
important.
circular economy is a material science
True,
issue.
true, true.
And therefore, the way you design it determines everything else. You will see a lot of emphasis now on dyes and printing inks.
yep.
Primarily because the monomaterial, the multi to mono thought process and transition has begun,
Yep.
and it seems to be gathering momentum.
Sure.
Also, alongside, it's probably worth saying and noting that there have been developments in recycling.
Sure.
So much that there are reports of some places where they've been able to break down MLP.
Right.
And so when these sorts of technologies come into commercial play, they will be game changers.
Nice.
And then we have to look for the next frontier. So if not monomaterial, or when that is solved, what do we
What
need
next?
to solve for
Yeah.
next?
Yeah.
And everybody seems to think it's the dyes and inks that will come into the
Yeah.
picture. And I know that's something you're very interested in.
Correct. So dyes, inks, adhesives, I think additives,
Exactly,
resins,
exactly.
yeah.
All the
so
design
can
elements.
these manufacturers be a part of the India Plastics Pact? I'm just because I know
Yeah.
that there is a world which is fairly enlightened. They're
Yeah.
technologists.
Yeah.
Quite a few of them are, scientific brain. They would be, delighted to be a
Yeah.
part of something like.
No, absolutely, it makes
Yeah,
sense. I
right.
think we have been trying to work on a sort of membership that is a sort of associate
open,
membership
yeah,
kind of thing.
right.
Because these companies will not be able to sign on to the targets, right? That is for the brands to
Yeah,
do.
yeah.
But the brands can't do it without this sort
Support,
of enabling.
yeah,
exactly.
yeah. True,
exactly.
true, true. And also knowledge transfer.
Oh,
Yeah.
definitely,
Yeah, yeah,
definitely.
yeah.
And imagine what would happen if all ink manufacturers or all
Adhesive
or all adhesive manufacturers were to agree to one kind of
Correct.
composition.
Correct.
How easy you would make life for a recycler.
Everybody, yeah. True, true,
and
true.
then more material flows through the system and better material
Right,
flows
right.
through the system.
And again, how do other brands get become signatories in the India Plastics Pact? I mean, I know you have all the big daddies and the A-listers, but there are innumerable Indian brands, regional brands, very strong, powerful, potent. If there's some call to action that how do I'm sure there's a website and all of that, but is there two simple things they need to do to become a member of the India Plastics Pact? Yeah.
Yeah, I think they would do well to just contact us.
Okay.
Our details are all over the place.
Sure.
www.indiaplasticspact.org is where we can be found
Right, right.
for starters. But I think more important than any other consideration is the fact that when more people join, the potential for impact becomes
that
much,
much
much
more.
larger.
True.
And I would really call upon companies to join us simply because this collaborative platform is the place from which change will come in.
Definitely.
And this is going to benefit the whole country.
True,
It's not
true.
one or the other. And today, SMEs are out of the purview
Correct.
of the EPR.
That's true.
But all SMEs know that
Yeah.
it's not going to remain
Not
like
for long,
that.
yeah.
Not for long,
True,
exactly.
true. Okay, before I let you go, this is what we have done. So we will also,
very
yeah,
attractive,
yeah,
yes.
yeah. So this is we have. So other than me, the entire What Packaging team is under 30, uh, and so this is sort of the rebranded,
Lovely.
repackaged,
Very
relook of the
nice.
magazine. And yeah,
Very
you're-
nice.
thank you for sort of accepting it, and thank you so much. So
Thanks
that
a
was
lot.
Dr. Nandini Kumar of CII, and we'll put some details about a couple of the things which she spoke about in the link below. And thank you so much for doing this at the ResPack conference.
Thank you so much for having me here.
Thank you.
Pleasure.